and welcome back to Military Law Talks. So today's video is a continuation of the series on the SCRA, I'm gonna screw this up a bunch of times, the Servicemembers Civil Relief Act, the SCRA. So today's video is about lease terminations. As I explained in my initial overview video, and if you haven't watched that, there'll be title credits at the end that you can watch that video. Lease provisions are particularly a little complicated. And so this video is important for you to understand your rights on how to cancel leases, both residential leases and car leases. So it does actually apply to car leases. So let's talk about residential leases first, because that's usually the most common lease that you terminate. So if you are an active duty military member and you get PCS orders, you're moving, you're deploying, if your orders are greater than 90 days, which they will be, right? If you're on active duty, you can terminate your residential leases. Now, and how to do that is that you give your lender, your landlord notice. So you have to give them something in writing, so a letter. And again, like I've explained in the 6% interest rate video, it's a pretty simple letter. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. You can use your favorite search engine and find a sample of this letter. And if you're on active duty, you can usually get just a template letter from your local legal assistance office. But this provision also applies to National Guard and Reserve in a Title 10 status. So if you are a National Guard and you get activated to Title 10 for orders greater than 90 days, reservists as well, your orders need to be greater than 90 days for a residential lease, you can terminate your residential lease. And it doesn't even have to be where you live. It could also be maybe your place of business. You could terminate those leases. And so, like I said, you provide notice, some written notice, and a copy of your orders to your landlord. And some landlords, right, it's however you pay your rent is, so whether you paid online, right, or if they have a local office that you can go hand deliver it. So deliver it, but make sure that you can confirm that they received your letter and your orders. And so once they do that, your lease would terminate 30 days after the next day you pay rent. And so my advice is make sure that you're providing that notice as soon as possible, but time it correctly. So you don't want to be responsible for paying rent after you've already left because you waited until the last minute to provide those orders. So let's give an example. Let's say your rent is due on the 1st of the month. So this is October. You've already paid rent for October. If you gave notice today, this is after you've already paid your October rent, you would continue that lease for the month of October and then pay November rent, and it would end 30 days after you've paid that rent on November 1st. So November 30th. But let's say maybe you pay rent on the 15th of the month, and it's not quite October 15th yet as the date of this video. And so you could provide your orders and your notice right away, pay your rent on the 15th like it's normally due, and then your lease would terminate 30 days after you've paid that rent. And so it all kind of depends on when your lease is up and when when your rent is due, when your lease would terminate. But it's 30 days after your next rental payment, as it's normally paid under your lease, then that's when your lease would terminate. Now, it's important to note that this lease termination clause also applies to other types of contracts, to include auto leases. So if you are leasing your vehicle, you can terminate that auto lease. However, must note, it's not 90 days orders. It's got to be orders greater than 180 days. And so maybe your orders don't last greater than 180 days. Maybe they're 179-day orders. And if that's the case, then you could not cancel your auto lease. It's got to be 180 days or greater to cancel your auto lease. And how you do it, just like a residential lease, provide that written notice, a copy of your orders, and then you'll have to arrange with the lender However, to return that auto. So it's usually within 15 days of providing that notice, you have to return that auto under that lease. Now, you're probably saying, like, why would you explain that you have to return the car? So, I'm just going to say most people understand that you have to return the car, but I once had a client who didn't quite understand that they had to actually return the vehicle if they cancel that lease. So kind of I've realized I got to be really thorough in my explanation to make sure everyone understands that yes, if you cancel an auto lease, you have to return the vehicle. You can't keep the car. You would return it because an auto lease is like a long-term rental contract. You got to return that car at the end of it. And so it also applies to like gym memberships. So I've used SCRA provision to get out of my Planet Fitness gym membership when I deployed. And let me tell you, it's hard to get out of those gym memberships. And so this is a good way to do it. And so other important things to note is make sure that if you are a service member, particularly active duty, and I've seen this, I've heard anecdotally that a lot of, unfortunately, unscrupulous landlords are doing this around military installations, that they are inserting a waiver of this SCRA provision that you can terminate a lease early into rental contracts. So make sure you're reading that contract before you get that apartment, before you get that house. Make sure you're reading it and you understand, because you can actually waive your rights. Now, however, the law does actually provide that in order to have a valid waiver, it has to be a completely separate contract. It can't be like hidden in your lease. It's got to be a separate contract executed separately. You have to sign that specific waiver. And the law even says it has to be normal 12-point font. It can't be like a smaller font. And so, because some people have been really unscrupulous and try to get you to waive those rights, because it's a really big deal. You can end your lease early, and you don't want to be on the hook to have to pay for a residential place that you aren't living at, right? You get orders to move, you want to be able to get out of that lease because you're going to have to sign another lease where you move to. And so make sure that you are reading your rental contracts before you sign them. It's really, really important to note. And so also, you can't be charged any extra fees. So if you cancel your lease, you can't be charged extra fees. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, you can look them up. There's videos out there. There are unscrupulous lenders everywhere, landlords who are trying to deny service members their rights under federal law to cancel this either apartment lease or house lease. And so make sure you understand your rights. If you are an active duty service member, you can reach out to your local legal assistance office, or if you're reservist as well. And if you ever need assistance, I'm in private practice in the state of Texas, so you can reach out to me as well. So hopefully you learned something in this video. If you did, click the like button. Definitely share this video out there. Share it with other service members who may need this information. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.